The spiritual decay of the earth has reached such a deep level that many people are at risk of losing their last bit of spiritual strength, the very strength needed to even recognize that this collapse is happening. Carl Jung had a dark outlook on the future of Western civilization. He believed it was in decline, heading toward collapse, and he didn't rule out the chance of an apocalyptic event that could wipe out billions. In this video, we're going to dive into the roots of Jung's grim view and look at a chilling vision he had shortly before his death, one that paints a very dark future for the Western world. As the second millennium was nearing its end, Jung wrote that we're once again living in a time filled with terrifying images of worldwide destruction. He had lived through 2 world wars, watched the creation and use of the atomic bomb, and saw totalitarian regimes rise across Europe and Asia, with so much devastation unfolding around him. It's no wonder he felt hopeless about what lay ahead. But Jung's pessimism wasn't just about the wars, the dictators, or nuclear weapons. It came from his understanding of the psychological condition of modern men and women. From years of treating patients and studying the human mind, Jung believed that most people were mentally unwell, and some were even on the edge of madness. What's worse is that today, there are very few people left with the wisdom, strength, and courage needed to protect us in an age where our technology can destroy the world or enslave it. As Jung asked, is everything truly okay with the human mind? The once helpful god of science, which had done so much good for mankind, had shown its darker side. It brought us the most horrific weapons of war, like poison gas, while human thinking became clouded by bizarre and irrational beliefs. Even after World War II ended, Jung's dark outlook never faded. The battles between nations may have ended, but the war within, the struggle between man and his own demons, still raged on, and Jung believed most people were losing that fight. In a letter he wrote to analytical psychologist Esther Harding back in 1947, he said, "It seems to come to a general showdown, where the question shall be settled, whether the actual existing man is conscious enough to cope with his demons or not. For the time being, it seems to be a losing fight." One of Jung's biggest fears was that unstable minds might rise to power in countries armed with nuclear weapons, starting a third world war that could lead to the end of civilization. Or as he warned, the unleashing of atomic energy has given the human race the power to annihilate itself completely. The situation is about the same as if a small boy of 6 had been given a bag of dynamite for a birthday present. How can we save the child from the dynamite, which no one can take away from him? In his book Catafalque, Carl Jung and the End of Humanity, philosopher Peter Kingsley even suggests that Jung's deep pessimism drove him to create a form of psychology that prepares not just for death on a personal level, but for the end of civilization itself. Because when a civilization collapses, its value systems rot, and the myths that once gave life meaning start to fade and fall apart. In such times, going along with the crowd becomes dangerous, even toxic. That's why Jung believed every individual must find their own path to inner salvation, and his psychology was designed to help people do exactly that. Psychology, like mine, prepares for an end or even for the end. Jung once wrote, "The question is only, what are we going to kill? Ourselves or our still infantile psychology and its appalling unconsciousness?" At times, Jung did show a small glimmer of hope, believing that if enough people faced their own darkness and found inner balance, society might still be saved. But near the end of his life, that hope seemed to fade. Just before his death, Jung had a disturbing vision about the West's future, and this wasn't his only vision. In fact, Jung's entire life was marked by them. Some of these visions helped Jung shape his psychological theories, like his concept of the collective unconscious, while others seemed to predict future events. In October 1913, for instance, Jung had a terrifying vision that appeared to foreshadow the outbreak of World War I. He wrote, "In October, while I was alone on a journey, I was suddenly seized by an overpowering vision. I saw a monstrous flood covering all the northern and low-lying lands between the North Sea and the Alps. When it came up to Switzerland, I saw that the mountains grew higher and higher to protect our country. I realized that a frightful catastrophe was in progress. I saw the mighty yellow waves, the floating rubble of civilization, and the drowned bodies of uncounted thousands." 2 weeks later, the vision returned, only this time the blood was even more intense. He heard an inner voice say, "Look at it well. It is wholly real, and it will be so." You cannot doubt it, but the vision Jung had in 1961, just before his death, was even darker and more apocalyptic. And if we trust Socrates, visions near death are not to be ignored. Socrates once said, "People prophesy especially just before they die." Marie-Louise von Franz, Jung's close student and collaborator, later revealed parts of this chilling vision. In an interview 2 decades after his death, she said, "I don't want to speak much about it, but he tried to convey to his family some things when he was right dying, and they didn't get the point. So he called for me, but they wouldn't let me be called. But one of his daughters took notes, and after his death she gave them to me." According to her, the vision included a drawing with a line going up and down, underneath which were the words, "The last 50 years of humanity," along with a comment about an upcoming final catastrophe. When asked her thoughts, she admitted, "One's whole feeling revolts against this idea. But since I have those notes in a drawer, I don't allow myself to be too optimistic." Some may argue Jung's prophecy was wrong after all. No world-ending event has happened. But maybe we shouldn't dismiss his vision so quickly. Often, people living through a civilization's collapse don't see the full picture until it's too late. And today, the mental state of the average person might be even worse than in Jung's time. The COVID era showed how easily the masses could fall into mass psychosis. And our political leaders, many of them don't seem mentally sound either. A sick society ruled by sick leaders is a dangerous combination, and it might only be a matter of time before Jung's dark vision plays out. Or, as Peter Kingsley puts it, just like those cartoon characters who run out over a cliff and don't notice they're in midair. We keep thinking everything's fine. For a few unreal moments, we're floating in nothingness, carried only by the leftover momentum of our unconscious habits. But eventually even that stops, and then everything drops. That's when chaos begins. Edith Hamilton, a brilliant 20th century American educator, once wrote, "When the world is storm-driven and the bad that happens, and the worst that threatens are so urgent as to shut out everything else from view, then we need to know all the strong fortresses of the spirit, which men have built through the ages." And here at Nexphilo, that's exactly what we explore, those powerful psychological and philosophical insights that strengthen the mind and spirit. So if you're ready to go deeper, hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey.